All right, we are out here with Cooper, and I thought today we would play a little game that helps introduce the leave it concept. And I like to make this into a game where it's more dog led human puzzle sort of thing going on. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some food in my hand and I'm going to present it almost kind of like the food lore. And basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my hand shut and it's going to act like a mechanical clamshell, I guess you could say. As soon as his nose isn't touching my hand will open. But as soon as he kind of goes to dive for the food, my hand's just going to close again. Ideally, we're looking for a moment where he's taken his nose off of my hand and isn't diving for the food, where I could release him to it. So I am going to use my clicker for this as well. All right, so I'm going to present that closed hand first. He's sniffing, sniffing, sniffing. And as soon as that nose comes off of my hand, it's going to open. We almost had it just there. Perfect. So I'm going to do that again. And so at first, this is kind of hard to catch the concept, but and he might offer some behaviors that he's learned recently, like down. If you've taught high five, that definitely gets thrown in there. Good. Ooh, yeah, good job. All right. Good. I'm just kind of clicking when there's a moment where my hand is open, but he's not diving for the food. Good. And sometimes it can be a happy accident. So if the puppy just like stops looking at your hand and is sniffing the ground and your hand is open, and obviously by sniffing at the ground, he's not actively diving for the food, you can still click him in that moment. So happy accidents still count. And I'm just using a little bit of treat chase in between to kind of mix up the rep. Good. Perfect. Nice. So as we say in this program, we don't name it till we love it. And now that I'm kind of presenting my open hand and he's not immediately diving for it, I can start to name this exercise. So I can say, leave it. Good. Good. So I'm going to start using my good reward marker to tell him he's on the right track. Good. Good. Okay, perfect. And so we call this exercise fist palm floor drop. So this is fist palm. The next stage of this would be floor. Oh, big noise. That's okay. Sorry. I got distracted. Good. Okay, perfect. So we're going to do this next step, which is going to be floor. And I'm going to use a leash for this. All right. I'm going to guide him over here. Perfect. So this is almost the same thing, except instead of the clamshell hand being in the air, it's going to be on the floor. And I kind of go back to kindergarten with this. I could just go ahead and start saying, leave it. But he hasn't quite learned what that means. He hasn't made the association of what he's hearing with what he's doing. Okay, perfect. And that's all it is when we're teaching a verbal cue. We're just pairing what the dog is doing with what they're hearing. And that's why we kind of wait till they're doing it really well. Leave it. Good. Okay, perfect. I especially wanted to introduce this game to him because he is very quick. Like I've had my treat pouch on in group and have rewarded dogs for things. And if as soon as a piece of food falls on the floor, generally we don't like the dogs to like snatch that up because that can start a fight. And he's definitely like a shark on bait. So I just want to make sure that he's not lunging after food and snatching it up too much, and working on impulse control skills in that regard as well. Leave it. Good. Leave it. Good. Okay. Perfect. Nice job. Good boy. We'll do one more of those. Leave it. Good. Leave it. Good. Good. That was like the first time I used my no reward marker. Good. Okay. Perfect. Nice job, buddy. So the last one we're gonna do, my no reward marker. I generally don't use a lot of my no reward marker until we're in later learning phases. So with puppies especially, we don't end up being in the proofing stage of learning skills until we're a couple weeks in. So I don't use my no reward marker a whole lot. But you can start to sprinkle it in there a little bit as they get better at the exercise. So the last one we're gonna do is actually going to be drop. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, okay, and let him, oh, he didn't see where that Perfect. Went. So I'm going to hold his leash, kind of making sure that it's nice and loose right now because he's technically correct. And we talk about leash pressure later on in the program where we would want pressure to actually mean something to the dog. But if they are correct, they shouldn't feel any pressure from the leash at all. So I definitely don't want to hold him back with that leash. And I'm just going to practice. And actually, I'm going to do this from a stand if I can mess up my cameraman's angle here. Perfect. I'm going to guide him over here. You can also do this on place as well. And that might actually be a good way to mitigate this. I think he's actually going to struggle with the dropping food just a little bit. So I might try to make it a little bit easier by having him hold place. That gives him a little bit more clarity and objective. He understands how to hold place already. Good job. Perfect. So nice loose leash right now. I'm going to say, leave it. Whoa. And I'm just going to guide him back to the place bed. Good. And I'm just going to keep doing this. Good. Until he isn't going after that food. Leave it. Good. Actually, good. Okay. I actually waited for a little bit of eye contact there. So I kind of moved in his peripheral vision. I kind of got my face to catch his peripheral eye there. And he looked at me and then I released them. So that's kind of another step that you can add to this so that they're not just focusing on the food as much. Place. Good. Leave it. I'm going to use a little pressure to get him back on. Good. Good. Leave it. Good. Okay. Nice. So I'm going to see if we can, scoot that didn't glide the way I thought it would in my head. There's one more piece of food on the floor. All right. So I'm going to try this without. So I'm going to say, leave it. Good. 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 Leave it. Good. So you have to be pretty deft with your leash skills here. Good. Leave it. Good. Good. Leave it. Good. Very tempting. Good. 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 Leave it. Good. Try to capture that. Good. Okay. Perfect. Very good. So this is a really great, almost lifestyle training exercise where he's not immediately, this is almost like a secondary reward. He's not immediately getting paid for doing the thing I asked. In fact, it's almost set up so that he would choose the other option or the option of not doing what I'm asking him to do. And by doing this setup, he actually earns the thing he wants by doing the thing he didn't want to do. And I'm not necessarily paying him from my pocket while he's doing that. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. Anytime we can show our dogs that cooperating with us actually earns them the thing that they wanted in the first place is a really good setup to have. So we'll do one more just for fun. Good boy. Leave it. Good. Leave it. Good. Okay, very good. Good job. Awesome. Well, Cooper's doing super great with this. Good boy, dude.